What do you think of when you think of the Australian Defence Force, Australia's military? Perhaps you think of a combat-ready infantry soldier, or perhaps a guided missile destroyer, or maybe even an A-18F Super Hornet. But if they're the only sort of things you think of when you think of the ADF, well, you clearly haven't woken up to the modern world. Welcome to diversity and inclusion, motherfucker. You thought the army was off limits? Of course not. What were you thinking? This is the ADF Careers website, People and Diversity. Of course, we have multicultural diversity. By that we mean people holding Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander flags in front of some sort of heavily modified Airbus A330, I believe. We make a point of people's sexuality, openly embracing the LGBTIQA+ community. Because, you know, in times of war, it's important that we know that a certain percentage of our pilots and soldiers come from a range of different sexualities and genders. I don't know how that's important, but it's important that we make a point of it. As shown in this Defence Australia YouTube video, ADF Personnel march with pride. Major General Rawlings, LGBT Champion, states, "The Ball and Mardi Gras are two capstone events for the community." Remembering that capstone means one's greatest achievement or the greatest part of something. I didn't realise one's sexuality could be considered one's greatest achievement, or perhaps the Major General means marching in the Mardi Gras is one's greatest achievement. I would think that learning to fly an attack helicopter would be a pretty impressive feat, but apparently who you choose to have relations with in your private life is seemingly more relevant. Of course, there's the mandatory acknowledgement of country, acknowledging the traditional owners of the land throughout Australia, not to mention the mandatory message warning viewers that this website may contain images or content related to deceased persons. I'd also add, as a soldier or other military personnel who is trained to engage in combat, you may encounter actual deceased persons, not just a picture, as part of your job description. But not only is it about celebrating our own diversity in the ADF, we must also force our views onto other countries. Again, Defence Australia's YouTube channel, Gender, Peace and Security Onboard JS Noshiro, a Japanese Defence Force frigate. This is Squadron Leader Nicola Bigarelli, a Gender, Peace and Security advisor, who went on board to explain to some bored-looking Japanese male soldiers the importance of gender considerations inside the Japanese Self-Defense Force. Our taxpayer money hard at work. The comments are quite telling. Indonesia and China are trembling at the thought of our gender peace levels. All those blokes look like they don't even want to be there. It's embarrassing gender specialist is even a real role in the ADF. I'm always supportive of the ADF, but this confuses me. This is the solution to what problem? Good question. Look, I like Japanese ladies, but 99.99% of them do not wish to be involved in the Japanese military. Why is Australia spending money talking to their male soldiers about gender? In the UK last year, an inquiry found that all these diversity initiatives to increase the numbers of women and people from ethnic minorities in the Royal Air Force led to unlawful discrimination against, you guessed it, white men. What I find funny about all this, if indeed there is a war and there are missiles coming our way, I wonder how many of us are going to be worried about the ethnic makeup and sexual diversity of our soldiers, sailors and pilots as the bombs explode around us. I doubt very many. I think most of us would just want well-trained military personnel who are willing to fight and defend our country. Unfortunately, the ADF is having problems with recruitment and is losing numbers. Despite favourable recruiting conditions, it's reported that the ADF is 7% under strength. But the powers that be seem to think that if we just allow men to wear female uniforms, then the recruitment issues should solve themselves. The ADF also spend our hard-earned taxpayer dollars on something called the Luck-Save Long Gender Training in Papua New Guinea. What the f*** is that, I hear you ask? Again, it involves an ADF gender specialist telling some bored-looking male soldiers about the importance of gender awareness using some toy soldiers, a map, some wooden toy huts, and getting everyone to raise their hands in the air. It felt a bit like a preschool lesson, but to be fair, I was also confused what the hell they were talking about. I could read the soldiers' minds. This one was thinking, what the f*** is this lady talking about? And this soldier was thinking, I joined the army to use a machine gun. What the f*** have I got myself into? Anyway, that's where at least part of our defence budget is currently being spent, trying to preach our woke ideology on our neighbouring countries.